Yes, welcome into Foxboro Rush. You know what it is. George Balekji here with my man, Travis Thomas. NFL schedules are out. We knew the opponents. We knew home and away, but now we know when they're playing. T, what are you thinking of the slate early on for the Patriots?
I'm thinking I can't wait till football. That's what I'm thinking. But as far as my record for the team, not so great, GB. Not so great.
I was optimistic, then I slept on it, and you guys will find that out later. Today on Foxboro Rush, we'll be talking about the Patriots schedule, what we love, what we hate. Guys, they have one primetime game. That's not good. But welcome to the Patriots in 2024.
Yeah.
Also, Jacoby Brissett spoke with the media on Thursday, gave some insight into the competition in the quarterback room.
Yep.
So what does that mean for there? I mean, we're talking Bailey Zappi and Joe Milton, not just Drake Maye and Jacoby. And then, of course, Chris Price of the Boston Globe joins us for telling us about his story on Calvin Anderson and his battle with malaria, which was life and death for him, the bounce back he's made, and also talking Gillette with Gerard Mayo now in charge. But Trav, let's start with the Patriots schedule.
Let's dive in.
It has finally come out. We know it's going to be season opener in Cincinnati, home opener hosting the Seahawks.
Yeah.
One primetime game, as we're pulling up the full page here. The games in red are at home. The rest are on the road.
Right.
Week 14 bye, one primetime game, and that's because you're playing the Jets in New York. It's not because of you. Yeah, you're in England, 9:30 kickoff against the Jaguars. What were your first reaction to seeing the schedule come out, Trav?
First reaction was the NFL hates the Patriots because this is hard as hell, this schedule. That was literally my first reaction of, oh, man, no gimmies here. All right, thanks a lot. And then I would say the game I'm most looking forward to, as we have this up here, is the one they can actually win out of the gate. I think that home opener against the Seahawks feels like a coin flip game to me, George. I mean, I was wrong about the Seahawks. I thought that team was going to be a playoff team last year. They damn near got there. I thought that team fit Pete Carroll in terms of his personality a little bit better. And they almost got there. They had some injuries, obviously, as well throughout the season. But now with a new coach, I don't know what I don't know, right? So now I'm looking at that team like, okay, another year of Geno Smith. I thought that was a place where Michael Penix Jr. made a lot of sense in the draft. We know the end of that story. So I'm not as excited about the Seahawks this season as I was last season. I believe they're in a similar transition that the Patriots are, except further along in their rebuild on the fly, if you will, because they'll still be a competitive team. But I do believe that's a game the Patriots can win at home. So that's where my eyes locked in, because you ain't going into the jungle and beating Joe Burrow. It's just not going to happen. He's healthy to start the year, at least we know.
Yeah.
We'll see if he finishes the year, George. But certainly Joe Burrow's going to be healthy. He's going to be looking to go on a revenge tour. We understand all that. The Patriots will be sacrificial lambs. I just want them to cover in that game. Keep it close. Keep it respectable. But I think they could win against the Seahawks at home. So that's where my eyes fixated on.
All week, too. Hey, you do point out you think the league hates the Patriots.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is all equations and calculations. Because to talk about your Miami Dolphins, who you think will win the division this year, which I don't hate. I don't hate. Look at their schedule. At Seattle, at Indianapolis,
right,
at the Rams. So the Patriots get the Seahawks and Rams at home, hosting the 49ers. So they have that same overlap with the NFC West. We know that. Even have to go to Houston,
right,
at Cleveland. So those are good teams. So this is how it breaks down common opponents between the two teams. Where goes my eyes on this one is you have the season opener in Cincinnati. 3 of your first 4 games are on the road. The only reason you have a primetime game is you have that Thursday night game. But it's because you're at the Jets with Aaron Rodgers. This is the new reality. One primetime game for the New England Patriots, and it's really just because of their opponent. Remember last year they were supposed to play the Chiefs Week 15 Monday Night Football?
That's right.
And they got flexed out of it the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah, I do.
Even with it being the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, even with the Taylor Swift bump in the ratings, the NFL still said, nah, we don't want that. You guys are going to play on Sunday. Welcome back to the 1990s, Patriots fans. Before you guys were good. I know Robert Kraft saw this come out. I was like, whoa, wait, what's happening here? So that's what jumps out to me, and what every player looks to.
Was that your Bob Kraft?
It's just, it's bad. It's bad. I'm not even going to try my Bob Kraft.
I just needed to know for clarification.
Not
I was
yet.
confused. I didn't know.
It's a work in progress.
Okay, you're workshopping it.
But what do NFL players look for? Who are they playing first?
Sure.
When do they have a Thursday night game?
Travel.
It gets them off routine.
Yep.
When's their bye?
Yep.
Week 14 is the bye week for the Patriots.
Yeah.
That is late, my friend. Now, they have winnable games after that. Cardinals, Bills, Chargers, Bills. Again, see the Bills twice late in the season. That last one, you host them at home. But that's where my eyes went on this one. I'm with you. I think they can beat the Seahawks at home.
Yeah.
And the reason I give that is because this is actually a better Patriots roster than last year. Like, their offense is better. Offensive line is question marks, but as crazy as it sounds, Jalen Polk and Javon Baker bring more to this offense. And with Alex Van Pelt as the OC, and just a better system all around than what they had last year with Bill O'Brien basically working with nothing and a Mac Jones who forgot how to play football. At least Jacoby Brissett is a professional, knows what to do under center.
Yeah.
This will be a better team than last year. Now, that team won 4 games. But think of that Seahawks team. Geno Smith is still at quarterback, but Will McDonald, first-year head coach. Ryan Grubb, first-time NFL offensive coordinator leading that offense.
Right.
They have to come over to the East Coast. That's why I give them a win. This is the question I have, Trav. How many wins do you have them getting?
Well, it's funny because I do agree with you that this roster is better than last year, specifically offensively. But some of that is like there was nowhere else to go but up.
You hit rock bottom. All you can do is get better.
They were bottom of the barrel barnacle style, bro. Yep. So, yes, the offense has improved in terms of bodies and athletes and what you got in-house now. But they're all young. It's going to take time. We understand that. You could certainly use some more weapons on the outside. So while I agree the roster is better on the offensive side, I do not necessarily believe this is a better football team. I think there could be some offsetting things here. While your offense is younger and at least interesting, it won't put you to sleep like they did last season. I mean, I got some of my best naps watching the G-Damn Patriots last year, okay? But with that being said, I think you will have a drop-off at the head coaching situation. It's no knock against Drake Maye. It's just that Bill Belichick had been here for 150 years. So obviously there's going to be a transition there for a rookie head coach. My hope is that he can keep the defense at the status quo, George. That's all I'm asking. Just keep the defense solid. Possibly, if they're healthy, they could be elite. If he can do that, it will help him a lot in his rookie year as a head coach. But the offense is going to take time. We don't even know when Drake Maye is going to get in. I know we're going to discuss that. So for all of that, I'm going with the same record as last year, George. I'm going 4-13, but I just believe we'll see more flashes from this team. They will look a little bit better. Yeah. They'll make you feel more comfortable and optimistic about the future than the end of the Bill Belichick era.
Last night, I was optimistic, and my gut reaction record, to which I will stand by because we made a wager in the office.
You were tripping.
7-10.
You were tripping.
But I slept.
There you go.
I got a great night's sleep.
Good for you.
My coffee this morning.
Yes.
Hit the spot.
Come on.
Cabana coffee, the beans I brought back from home in Jersey.
Yeah.
After a night's sleep.
Talk to me.
This is a 4-win team.
Look at you.
At best, with a couple wins, couple coin flip games, at most I give them 6 wins.
Respect.
At best, they go 6-1.
Maybe we settle on 5. Maybe we just do a show prediction and settle on 5.
The total's 4.5. You're at 4. I'll go 6. Let's go. All right, ready?
Right.
Producer Brendan, right here is what we're gonna do. Get ready for the edit.
All right.
Foxboro Rush, Patriots record prediction 5. Right there. Okay. Cool. We'll put effects on that.
Let's run through them.
But so who are your 4 wins? We have the Seahawks. We both have the Seahawks.
Seattle.
Cool. I like that.
You're not going to like this. So I think early in the year.
I know what you're going to do.
You know where I'm going. Early in the year, you go to the Jets.
No.
Week 3, Aaron Rodgers is still healthy and sober.
Yeah.
No conspiracy theories.
Maybe.
I'll take an L there, but I think later in the season, when you get them here, I think by that time, all of those damn primetime games out of the gate.
Coming off your London game, though?
Rodgers will be cussing people out.
Yeah.
If he's healthy, if he's sober, we don't know. Will he be VP? I mean, what the hell's going on with this guy? I think that's a win, so I think they split with the Jets.
Okay.
I got them beating the Titans.
Okay.
On the road. And
I have that too. I have Titans win.
And I also have them in a meaningless Bills game to end the season. Bills should have things wrapped up, even though I believe they'll be a wild card team. I think that's a coin flip game, and I'll give the Patriots that game at home. Bills should be resting starters.
All right, so here are my 4 wins that I give them. Seahawks, week 2, at home.
Yep, check.
Titans, November 3rd, on the road.
Check.
That's a bad Titans team with a new head coach in Bill Callahan. Chargers.
Oh, God.
Week 17. The LA Chargers, who lost everyone on offense, their best receiver is Ladd McConkey, who is a pro-ready receiver. And they shored up the offensive line, and they have Justin Herbert, but that's their best receiver. So they're going to beat the Chargers coming over from the West Coast. And then I give them that too. Buffalo Bills, home finale. But the Bills could be fighting for a playoff spot. This is a bad team. But the only division win I give them this year is getting the Bills at home. The 2 coin flips I have.
Yep.
Jaguars in London. Actually, I have 3. Jaguars in London.
That's fair.
And then I really have 3 coin flips, but I see them with 6 wins. Either that Colts game at home right before the bye.
Okay.
Or that Cardinals game coming out of the bye. And the reason I see both of those as coin flips, I don't know if Anthony Richardson's going to be healthy. Does he learn how to not take hits in the NFL? Right. Kyler Murray, big question mark with him, and the Pats coming out of a bye. So that's why I have those coin flips.
Yeah, listen, bro. I'll give you Jags and Cardinals as coin flip games, particularly the Jags. I've sold all my stock on them as a team and on Trevor Lawrence as a quarterback. And then the Cardinals, even though I believe that offense is going to be explosive, we'll see what the defense is. So I'll give you those. I can't roll with you on the Harbaugh stuff. I don't know if you're on the same stuff Aaron Rodgers is on or what, but I mean, you're crazy. If you think Jim Harbaugh, who's already proven that he wins everywhere he goes immediately, including the NFL.
But he's not going to go. He's not going to go 17-0.
No, he's not.
This is a bad Chargers team where the defense never stays healthy.
I tell you this.
Year 1 in a system.
I'll tell you this.
Lost everyone on
Chargers
offense.
fans are looking at their schedule and saying, "Oh, thank God we play the Patriots that week."
Of course. I mean, they knew they were playing the Pats, but they're not going to go 17-0. So I want to run through quick. This is what jumped out to me too. The quarterbacks they'll be playing: Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers twice, Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniels and Tua Tagovailoa, C.J. Stroud, Caleb Williams and Shane Waldron. Shane Waldron's a great offensive coordinator.
Yeah, it's tough.
Sean McVay and Matt Stafford.
Tough.
McDaniels again. Kyler Murray if he's healthy. And that was a good competitive Cardinals team. Do not sleep on them.
They had a great draft, George.
Josh Allen twice and Justin Herbert. And the quarterbacks I didn't name, Anthony Richardson. Will Levis if he makes a jump with the 3 good receivers he has. If Trevor Lawrence can get back on track. And Geno Smith if he can keep it together. This is a gauntlet of a schedule the Patriots have. Because now they're on the other end where they go, oh, nice, we got Jacoby Brissett, or we have a rookie. For them, it's just an absolute gauntlet. So the question is, when does Drake Maye make his debut, Trav?
I'm glad you asked, my friend, because I was totally prepared for that answer.
Let's hear it.
You go to London. It's a long flight.
Okay.
You're taking on the Jags and their home turf because no one gives a damn about the Jags
October
in
20.
Jacksonville. They care in bloody London. Then you get back from that and you say, you know what, Jacoby Brissett, who we'll hear from later, thanks for everything. Drake Maye, it's your time now. Boom! Drake Maye at home against Aaron Rodgers and all his conspiracy theories.
Nice.
And they get a dub right out of the gate, baby. Let's go.
You have Drake Maye making his first NFL start
Week 8
against one of the best defenses in the league.
I mean, you got to play the game, bro.
You want like gimme games,
the whole
get his
schedule's
confidence
hard.
up. Because it goes Jets, Titans, that could be a soft team. But then Bears, Rams, Dolphins. That's tough for Drake Maye.
I mean, what do you want? It's the NFL. We just talked about how hard this schedule is.
Yeah.
What do you want him to play? Foxboro High? He's going to have to play at some point. Put him in there.
Why are they
You want
catching
this
a
guy to
stray?
play in 2027.
No.
I'm telling you.
No. If he plays in 2024, my sweet spot on this one for Drake Maye, this is my prediction for when Drake Maye will make his debut for the New England Patriots.
All right.
It's week 13, home against the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, my God. Week 13?
Win or loss out of this game, it is perfect because you go into the bye week, and that first week after that win or loss against the Colts, it's all about correcting the game tape for Drake Maye. Then, after getting a week of prep at home under his belt as an NFL quarterback, and after spending the previous 12 weeks learning from Jacoby Brissett and learning the system and the speed of the game, go to the road in Arizona. That could be a team coin flip if they're good or bad.
Right.
Learn how to prep on the road. You have the Cardinals, then at Buffalo, 2 tough road games.
Yeah.
But then you finish off against the Chargers and Bills at home. Now, I originally would say that Drake Maye will make his debut right out of the bye. But you know Robert Kraft does not want his next franchise quarterback making his debut on the road.
No.
Debut Drake Maye at home against the Colts. By then, this team could be so bad with just 2 or 3 losses. You need to sell tickets. Boom, that gets you. Colts, bye week, twice on the road, twice at home. 5 games of experience. Take the momentum into the offseason. You hate it, Trav, don't you?
I do. I actually want to hear from the people. I would love a Twitter poll on this. Are you team me or team George? I say week 8. George says 2027.
Mine's a 3-year plan,
It's just insane to me. For all the latest on the Celtics, check out Hold My Banner. Full episode on YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure you follow us on all your social media accounts for all of our best content.
So, with all this talk about Drake Maye and his debut, the QB1, to me, if you had to ask me, will be Jacoby Brissett.
Yes.
And he spoke with the media on Thursday. And he gave some good insight into the competition inside the quarterback room. Check this out.
And that's the thing, though. The room is like everybody's talking me, Drake, and Joe. You got a guy that's starting in the NFL and won games. You know, he's not a slouch. You know, and I think the good thing about our room is honestly everybody wants to be the guy, and everybody's competing to be the guy, and that's what you want. You know, and I was talking to Aaron about it the other day. It's like, if none of us wanted to play, then our room would be messed up. Like, we would be in bad hands in this organization, you know? And I think everybody understands that and everybody wants to play. So I know I wouldn't be here if I didn't want to play and didn't think I could do the job myself, you know? So I think he thinks that of himself too, and he should. And that's it.
Travis, I love that. Love that to have a quarterback room full of competitors.
Yep.
Jacoby Brissett knows, and I'm sure Drake Maye knows too, that's the guy that's starting week 1.
Right.
And Jacoby Brissett knows his role. You're the bridge guy. Come in, be a mentor, because this is a young room. You have Bailey Zappi entering year 3 in the league. Drake Maye, 3rd overall pick. Joe Milton, 6th round pick, so 2 rookies there. And then Jacoby, which will be his 9th season in the NFL. But if he comes out and he's being 100% honest and those guys behind him actually are all competing to be a starter, that is such healthy competition to have in this room. As long as it's healthy and being good teammates, good brothers to one another in that room. Because last year, Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones wanted to start, but that was as toxic of a quarterback room as you get. They did not speak. I think you had Nathan Rourke in there. It just wasn't good.
Yeah.
But you have a vet in there, Jacoby Brissett. You have the young guy and everyone who knows who is a future in Drake Maye. And then Bailey Zappi still wants to prove himself. He came into the league hoping to make a roster. Then he played. He goes, I think I could be a starter. I think I could be a backup. He doesn't have to just prove himself to the Patriots, but the other 31 teams in the league. And then Joe Milton, same thing. I want to get out, be serious, and make a roster. I love that bite from Jacoby. I love the transparency and him talking about healthy competition in that quarterback's room.
Look, I know these guys were just playing against air at rookie minicamp, but I saw Joe Milton throw a football over those mountains. So, quite frankly, I'm going to take Bailey Zappi out of the quarterback room. I don't think it's a matter of if. I think it's a matter of when he's let go. Yeah. Good luck to you elsewhere. It ain't going to be here. So, in the end, Jacoby Brissett with 2 young, dynamic, playmaking quarterbacks who need some seasoning. They need to marinate. Jacoby Brissett is what he is. This is his time right now, and he knows it, and it's his job to lose. With this team's defense, if he can keep them in games, he's going to have a long stretch as a starter. We'll see if that happens, but in the end, he knows he will lose his job to Drake Maye. So Jacoby Brissett's going to go out there and compete until he can't anymore, and they take the ball from him. That's what I like to hear. It feels like he's comfortable with his role on this team.
You know, when he first spoke, he kind of had that Belichick approach of we're all competing. You know, I'll come in, do my job, but I'm sure he's vying to come in and be a starter. He probably is chafed about how stuff unraveled in Cleveland for him, and even you know when he was in New England.
Right.
But this is a guy, I mean, journeyman quarterback, and let's talk expectations because to me it's What is Jacoby Brissett going to be? Keep your hands at 10-2. Don't crash the car. We're going to run the heck out of the ball. This defense is going to be really good.
That's who he is.
Most importantly, you are the stopgap guy.
Yeah.
Between Mac Jones and Drake Maye. This is going to be a 12 to 15 touchdown pass, 10 interception, Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah.
This is a transition year because this is a long rebuild.
Yeah.
What are you expecting from Jacoby if you have any?
I mean, what you just said, but that's what he is at this point of his career. He's not – this isn't a Geno Smith resurrection project. And you know what? Seattle's ready to move off of Geno Smith right about now,
after
too.
They paid him.
They don't have any other options, right? Jacoby Brissett has been called in here to do a job, and that is to bring this young kid along, steady the ship. Would you say 10-2 on the steering wheel?
Yeah.
Just do that. He's going to do that just fine, George. But in the end, he's not dynamic enough, which is why he's not a real starter in this league, which is why I don't want to wait 20 years like you do to get to the kid. Give me a handful of games with Jacoby and then get Drake in here.
You know what 10-2 gets you to, Trav?
What?
Point A to point B.
Yeah.
And whether point B is week 8 for you
right,
or week 13 for me.
I'm right.
Get the team to that point. And that's what I want Jacoby Brissett to do. And also the biggest job, show Drake Maye, show Joe Milton.
Right.
Shoot, man. Show Bailey Zappi how to be a professional. Now BZ, oh my God, I almost just lost my breath.
Take your time now.
BZ learned how to be a quarterback from Brian Hoyer, and that was ripped from him. He has to recover as well in this.
Right.
One. So that's my thing. 10-2 gets you point A to point B. In fact, we also spoke with Chris Price about who will be the starter week 1 and Drake Maye's timeline. Check out our interview with him. The harrowing tale of Patriots player Calvin Anderson's near-fatal bout with malaria. That's up on bostonglobe.com right now, written by Christopher Price of The Globe. And this is a must-read for anybody, not just football fans, not just Patriots fans, because Calvin Anderson, this was a guy signed as a free agent last offseason, supposed to be a starting right tackle, and days before training camp came down with malaria and was literally in a battle for his life. And Chris Price of The Globe is joining us now on Foxboro Rush with me and Travis Thomas. Chris, this is a great read from start to finish because you hit on how Calvin Anderson met his savior and his wife, Cherie, and how he found his way back to the football field. But I want to start with, how did Calvin Anderson, get malaria, and how did he discover he had it to know he had to get to a hospital here in the States?
First of all, it's a pleasure being on with you guys. I really like it. It's just, I love talking about this story. I could talk about this story all day. He and his wife do a lot of philanthropic work back in Nigeria. His wife is half Nigerian. And so it's not only an opportunity to go back and help out some people who need some helping out, but she can see relatives. And it's just a nice way to for them to give back. And so last year, in late June, early July, they went to Nigeria with a specific goal of doing some philanthropic work, and he gets bitten by a mosquito. And they don't really think much of it until they're back in the United States. The first night they're back in the United States, he wakes up with a fever of 104.5, and he is in football mode. Now, you guys know that mid to late July, there is a singular focus with a lot of these guys. It's about training camp. It's about winning a job. It's about putting out good reps. It's about, not to put too fine a point on it, but it's about doing your job. And he really initially dismissed it and said, look, it's a cold, it's a flu. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to fight through this. His wife, Cherie, was very insistent, saying, look, we got to get to the hospital. We got to get this taken care of. 104.5 fever is not natural. They get him to the hospital. She puts him in a car. They go to Newton Wellesley Hospital, and through some blood tests, some blood work, meeting with doctors, they find out that he has malaria, and it gets to a point where they are told he has a 50-50 chance to live or die. And so that really started an absolutely, as I said in the story, it's a harrowing journey for him, his wife, and, the folks connected with him, because this is no joke. Malaria, for the most part, has been eradicated in the United States. But at the same time, this is something that's very, very serious. And all of a sudden, they kind of flip into crisis mode.
I want to go deeper into that subject of his wife, Cherie, because there's a part in this story where you're saying basically he flipped out in the hospital and she was there as a calming voice. So not only did she take this thing seriously from the onset to get him to said hospital, but then as you're going through the trials and tribulations of what he went through, she was right there with him and kept him calm at times. Can you talk about that part of the story and really just her role in general in all of this, of keeping this man alive, quite frankly.
You guys have spent enough time around elite athletes to know that sometimes they need to be saved from themselves.
Yes.
And the only people who can save them from themselves a lot of times are their significant others. And honestly, Calvin was very, very lucky in this case to have someone like Sheree looking out for his best interest, because again, the focus at that time of year is football. It's all football all the time. You're getting ready to dive in for 6 months. And this is a guy who also felt a tremendous sense of obligation, not only to the Patriots, but to Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is a guy who went out. He was the first outside free agent that this team signed in the offseason. This guy was a journeyman over the course of the first few years of his career. Bill Belichick is the first guy to give him a multi-million-dollar contract, and so he feels a real obligation to Bill. He says, look, I can't focus on anything else right now. I got to focus on football. What she does is really snap him back to reality and help him understand that, look, we're entering a life or death situation here. You need to take care of yourself. You need to be able to be mindful of what this is. You need to get a little more information. He ended up going to his dad, who's a doctor as well, FaceTiming with his dad to get some real information. But this kind of leads to the next part of it, and I know we're going to kind of get into this, Trav, the idea that there was a mental health aspect to this whole thing here, because we mentioned the freak out thing when he's sitting in the hospital bed, like ripping in his IVs and stuff. That led to a whole series of events for him where he got to a very dark place. He really got to a dark place where there was an understanding, like, look, this is what really defined him as an athlete. And if he's bedridden, how can he kind of work through this? How can he work to kind of get better and get back on the field? The other thing too, and this is a big part of it, it's not a traditional rehab for him. It's not like he hurt his knee, he hurt his elbow, he got a concussion, whatever the case may be, that he could kind of work through, be given a timetable and say, okay, look, I'll be back on the field in 4 to 6 weeks. This is very, very different. This is very, very unique.
Yeah, I love how you hit on the article. You said the story of how him and his wife met, and she literally said to you, quote, he's my person. So that showed to me the significance they have for one another, but the care she has for him and how well she took care of him. And you hit on it. It's mental. It was a physical recovery for Calvin Anderson. I mean, how is he doing now? Because, Chris, I remember right before week 1, Philadelphia Eagles in Gillette Stadium, I'm on the field. I'm watching the offensive linemen warm up, and I'm looking at Calvin Anderson, who's a starting right tackle, and I go, I knew he had something because it was an illness he was dealing with. And I look at his legs. I'm like, he looks like he's thin for a lineman. So in that context, right? And yeah, I want to ask like a human now. Like, I understand what he went through, and malaria is so serious. So I'm not digging the guy to not have the biggest legs coming out of that. I understand. But where is he now physically, mentally? Because it was the 4 a.m. battles with himself, looking himself in the mirror. And physically, this is a guy that's locked in, that wants to get back to being someone that can help out the Patriots up front.
He is back to, this is what he told me, he is back to his old playing weight, 6'5", 305. This is what he was when he first came into the league with the Jets. And he was initially signed with the Patriots, went to the Jets, went to Denver, had probably the best stretch of his career over a couple of years at 6'5" and 305. And this is, he's a big, strong, sturdy guy. And he looks almost, in my experience, he looks like the same guy he was a couple of years ago, or at least last summer when he first came into Foxboro. So he is back to where he wants to be physically, mentally. We talked before we started here. I think it's going to be really interesting because the Patriots went out, they drafted an offensive tackle, they got one guy in free agency. It's going to be fascinating to see how it all kind of plays out for him, at least from a practical perspective. I think that he's in the mix when you talk about a potential left tackle, maybe when you talk about a swing tackle here. But right now, as we sit here in mid-May, he is back to where he needs to be physically to be able to compete for a starting job in the NFL.
And how is he mentally doing as well? Because I can imagine the hit this is. You said the timeline. If you tear an ACL, if you injure your shoulder, there's a 2, 3, maybe 12-month time period to recover. But this is someone that started the first 2 weeks, was on the active roster, was put on the IR because he had a heart contusion, which is a bruise to the heart. So how is he mentally now that all this time, I can imagine, this isn't a story you do overnight or over the course of a week, but spending this much time with Calvin Anderson and his wife, talking to them, how are they both doing now mentally?
I think they're both okay. I do. I think that they're both And I spent more time with Calvin than I did with Sheree, and so I can really only speak to him in this aspect that he's a very spiritual guy. He was a very spiritual guy before all of this, very thoughtful, very introspective, very philosophical. And I think he's in a good place mentally, at least at the start of this season, because a lot of it really, right now for him, it's about competition. And I think that is the thread that he can kind of pull on and say, look, I need to be sharp. I need to be back. I am where I need to be physically. And so the mental aspect is going to kind of follow. The other thing, too, we talk about the mental aspect of it all, and I think it's really important to bring up here. The idea of the offensive lineman's code is really important when you talk about the mental struggles that he went through. It's not only feeling like you let down Bill Belichick or you let down the rest of the team, but it's very much of an offensive lineman thing, that there's a feeling that I'm going to be there for the guy to the left of me, to the right of me. We are a group, we are a unit. It's tough to quantify successful offensive line play because you don't necessarily need the 5 best offensive linemen in the planet. You need the 5 guys who work the best together. Mm-hmm. And I think the work that he did with the guys on that offensive line over the course of the spring, he felt like he was letting them down. I think now he feels like he's in a much better place mentally than he was at the end of the season.
For sure. All right, Chris, let's go to the football field with the whole team here. Tell me about rookie minicamp. First, how's it feel to be a welcomed member of the media at such things? And then secondly, tell me all about Drake Maye, that you've seen, your impressions. I mean, we heard Drake Maye come out with the quote. He has a lot to work on. So, kind of give me your first impressions of Drake Maye that you saw.
I think first of all, it's really different being down there now. And look, it's not good or bad, and fans don't care, and fans shouldn't care, quite frankly, the way that we're treated. But it's different. Your interaction with the coach, your interaction with the players, your interaction with the assistant coaches, it's different, and so it's going to take some time to get used to. When it comes to Drake Maye, the first thing I can tell you is he's big. This is the 2 quarterbacks that were in there over the weekend, rookie minicamp, Drake Maye and Joe Milton. They're big dudes. And the other thing, too, is that what's the phrase I'm looking for here? They're really good at leading the group. There is a clear, and look, I think part of it, at least at this stage of their career, they don't know what they don't know yet. So I think some of it's performative at the NFL level. And I'm going to be interested to see what sort of interactions he has when veterans come in there, in another few weeks, whether, Drake Maye working with Juju Smith-Schuster or Kendrick Bourne, for example, if they're going to kind of try to curry favor with the new quarterback or if it's going to be a reversal. But look, the early indications, I think he did as well as could be expected. I always look for guys, and I'll include Drake Maye in this, in its varying degrees, of expectation, but you look at these guys, you just don't want them to be overwhelmed. You want them to look like they belong on an NFL field. And it's a low bar, admittedly, but you look at Drake Maye and what he did at rookie minicamp, yeah, the guy belongs. He was making throws. He was leading the group. He was doing everything that the offense asked him to do, and he was able to execute it consistently over the course of practice. You're in the incredibly early stages of his career, but I think it was a good opening act for the young man.
What do you make of the system they put around Drake Maye? It's Alex Van Pelt, the new offensive coordinator, leading them. Right. It's Ben McAdoo helping out. T.C. McCartney, the quarterback's coach. Evan Rothstein, an assistant quarterback's coach. Yep. But what do you make of all these voices around him? And we know AVP is the one leading the way to help set up Drake Maye for success.
Yeah, that's the thing, guys, too. And I think it's important to note that one of the things that, in hindsight, I really believe sunk Mac Jones was he had a bunch of different guys in his ear over the course of his 3 years in New England. And it got to a point, he had some success his rookie year. He had a good success his rookie year with Josh McDaniels. Then it became Matt Patricia. Then it was Joe Judge. Then it was Bill Belichick. Then it was Bill O'Brien. It was the constant turnover. And look, that's life in the NFL. I get that. But you're doing your young quarterback a disservice when you have so many different voices in his ear. And I think one of the things we're going to see moving forward, while all of those guys are going to have their fingerprints on the offensive game plan, it's going to be Drake Maye and Alex Van Pelt with a heavy dose of Jacoby Brissett mixed in there when it comes to working as a mentor for a young quarterback. The fewer voices in the head of a young quarterback, the better often he's going to be. And I really think that's going to be the case here with Drake Maye. Look, there's a lot of different things that figure into that, but I think we can start there with the understanding that it's going to be Alex Van Pelt. It's going to be his job to be able to get him ready to play, and there's going to be few other voices in his head for several reasons, not the least of which I think Drake Maye still has a lot of stuff to learn on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, we know, listen, it's Elliot Wolf's job now as a de facto GM, we'll call it here. Neither George nor I were surprised that he was the guy. I know George had some issues with the process or lack thereof of Elliot Wolf getting the job there. But what were your thoughts? Were you surprised at all? And sort of what are your breakdowns this early into his era, if you will, into his regime?
I think two things. First of all, I'm not surprised at all, and I agree with George that it was a bit of a farce. Everyone knew who the GM was going to be, the minute that Bill left. I don't want to say, let me take that back. That's a little strong. But like a week after Bill left, it was clear that Elliot Wolf was going to be the guy in charge, whether it's personnel, whatever you want to call him,
right.
VP, executive VP of football operations, or whatever. He's going to be the guy in charge. And so I had someone tell me at the combine that he had a 4-year deal in place. They already had that squared away and ready to go. And so that it was not a surprise at all. Now, I'm not taking shots at Elliot Wolf, but I think Wolf is the best guy to lead this franchise at this stage of his career and this stage of the franchise's career. This is going to take a few years. This is going to be a 3-year turnaround for Wolf, for Mayo, for Kraft. They have to sit and wait. The ownership has to sit and wait and be patient. I've used the analogy before. I still believe in it. This is like turning around an oil tanker. This is not. They're not all of a sudden going to be back in the playoffs next year. I think they're better than. I think some people believe that they can be. I think I saw the over/under wins for this team is 4.5. Yeah. I think they're better than a 4.5 win team.
Same.
But this is going to take a couple of years to be able to get back to being a playoff team, much less a championship team. Now, Wolf, there are two things that I keep coming back to with Wolf. First of all, the Packers' influence. It's draft and develop, create a feeder system and get your guys in there. And if it's not going to work, it's about kind of creating a system of success. They brought the Packers system in with them, the scouting system, all that. And so I think that's important when you talk about the turn. It's going to take years. They have the same system in place for 20 years. So you're not just going to be able to flip a switch and things are going to be okay overnight. The other thing, too, they're very, very big on the idea of collaboration. That's, we joked about a Patriots drinking game before, and every time that Elliot Wolf or Drake Maye says collaboration, you take a shot. So, so these guys are big on that. That being said, it's Elliot who's making the call. Right. It's his ship. We could talk about the impact of Gerard and the kind of players he wants and the kind of players that the OC and the DC want. But it's Elliott's system, and they're bringing. It's going to be a heavy dose the Packers way, and the Packers way, like I said, collaboration, draft and development, develop from within, and kind of move from there.
Yeah, you bring up the Packers way. I was lucky enough to cover the Packers for 2 years, but I think of Elliot Wolf. When he was there, they drafted Devontae Adams, Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings, Randall Cobb, James Jones, late-round picks. And then they've also had guys like Jair Alexander, Rashawn Gary, Zach Tom, Christian Watson. Like, I'm getting into the weeds, but you see how good the Packers are now. And they were one of the best teams in the NFL last 8 weeks of the season. So that's where I stand, where Elliot Wolf was a guy. Now, Chris, you being down there at Gillette every day, did you pick up from anybody that would speak to you and go, well, here's the logic behind we're going to give him the keys to the car through the draft, and then we'll see if he should keep it. And also what they did, which was reported that it was basically a one-day search, get 2 minority candidates in, meet with them in person, but don't have them meet with anyone else. And then, boom, a few days later, Elliot Wolf, you get promoted.
They didn't even take them to the facilities, Chris. They took them out for a steak dinner, for God's sake.
Just that bad.
But I think if you're – I don't think anyone was surprised. I don't think anyone was surprised at this. I don't know the value in it, but you do have to fulfill the Rooney Rule, and you have to go through the steps, and you have to make sure that all the boxes are checked. I think the people that they brought in, I don't know how happy they were being a part of kind of a dog and pony show.
Right.
I guess the only plus I can think of, if you were brought in to interview for that job, and it goes back to my own personal experience, you interview for a job, it's a good thing. When you interview for a job, you kind of get an understanding. If it's a job where you're going to be promoted, you can say, oh, well, okay, this is the kind of guy that they're looking for. Here, the opportunity to be able to walk into a building and say, all right, look, I'm interviewing for this job. We all know the reality of the situation, but what are you guys looking for? What do you want? What do you need in a general manager? So I guess there's pluses there. But again, I think it was a bit of a farce. And again, that's not a shot at Elliot Wolf. I think he's the best guy for the job. But part of me is like, why did you even go through the whole circus that you went through to get to this point?
We completely agree, my friend. May the show say amen to that. We'll let you go on this one. What are your early thoughts of Drake Maye, the coach? I mean, he's so new. He's so green on the gig. Everyone loves him. I've been asking people about him. I haven't heard anyone say anything bad or negative about the guy. Everyone loves him. What do you make of him so far? We know it's still early, but what do you make of him so far?
I think he needs help on the offensive side of the ball. And he said he touched on a little bit of that at the rookie minicamp, media session, where he's going to rely on guys like Ben McAdoo to be able to help him understand. And look, there are things that you don't know until you get into, game action that, you just need to experience as a head coach. McAdoo's been there before. Maybe McAdoo's going to be, I can imagine, I'll say this, Ben McAdoo being on the headsets and saying, look, you need to be mindful of the clock in this situation. You need to be, you should be taking a time out here, those sorts of things. But particularly on the offensive side of the ball, they're really going to rely on McAdoo. They're going to rely, you talked before about T.C. McCartney. You talked about, just everyone that they have on offense, particularly Alex Van Pelt, because I think the learning curve for him is going to be steep. There are no questions about his bona fides on the defensive side of the ball, particularly, both the players and the coaching staff that they have. I think the questions right now for me, specific to Drake Maye as a head coach, are going to come on the offensive side of the ball and how much he's going to have to rely on those guys moving forward while he kind of gets up to speed and understands about life in the National Football League as a head coach.
Yeah, I love the defensive side. Obviously, Drake Maye gets promoted. DeMarcus Covington gets promoted. Mike Pellegrino stays there. I'm surprised Travis didn't ask you this one. This is actually the last one, Chris. Mid-May prediction. When does Drake Maye start at quarterback for the Patriots?
I'm going to go post-Halloween.
Oh, I like that.
Look, I think Jacoby Brissett is going to be the guy who's going to get his ass kicked for the first month.
Sure.
You're right.
Yeah, I do. I think he's perfectly positioned to be that guy. And we'll talk more about it with we actually have him during availability tomorrow in Foxboro. And I'm fascinated to see if he is ready to assume that role that people have kind of penciled him in for. If he's going to be the mentor, if he's going to be the guidepost, if he's going to be the Crash Davis to Drake Maye's Nuke LaLoosh,
right?
Is he comfortable with that at this stage of his career? I imagine he is, but I'd love to be able to hear him say it. But yeah, I think that Jacoby Brissett is going to be kind of the fly in the windshield for the first month plus as they figure out what their offensive identity is. And then if there is a runway, let's call it, for Drake Maye post-Halloween where there are, let's say, 2 or 3 winnable games where you can get some confidence in him, you can kind of build him up a little bit, then I think that is the most logical jumping off point for the young man. But look, the other thing we talked about, Elliot Wolf, he came from a franchise that is, made knowing when to start a young quarterback an art.
That's right.
So, look, Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, he's managed. He knows how to do it, or at least he come from a place that's demonstrated an ability to know when to pull the trigger on something like that. So I would like to think that would figure into the conversation as well.
I like that. To me, I'm with you. It's going to be a 3-year rebuild. I want that offensive line to be ready to protect a Drake Maye because the Patriots don't want to be in the same place in the next 3 years. They want to have a guy that can lead them the next 10 years. He's Chris Price of the Boston Globe. The harrowing tale of Patriots player Calvin Anderson's near-fatal bout with malaria. It is a must-read, I'm telling you guys. It is such a good story. This was 8 months in the making by Chris himself, speaking with Calvin Anderson, his wife. his dad. So many people went into this. And, of course, infectious disease experts as well. Chris, thanks for taking the time. We appreciate you a ton, my friend.
My pleasure, guys. Take care, and we'll talk soon.
Make sure to catch the latest episode of Foxboro Rush, dropping 3 days a week, wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Nesson.com, Facebook, Twitch as well. We always have guests like Chris Price on. For George Balekji and Travis Thomas, we'll see you guys next time right here on Foxboro Rush.